us to their house. This auspicious month of Kartik. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So today it's auspicious that it is Kartik, and more so because today is a very special day. Does anybody know what's special about today? The appearance of Radhakund. It's a very special day. So, with your permission, today I would like to speak a little bit about Radhakund, pastimes leading to the appearance of Radhakund, and the glories of Radhakund. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vande Aham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavasya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahavana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parjanatam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahavana Lalita Sri Vishakhavitam Sya Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Janapati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Bhakta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusuti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Manchakalpatarubhayasya Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, how many of you have been to Radhakund? Huh? New Vrindavan. That is non-different from the original Radhakund. So hopefully after today's discussion you will be more inspired to go to Radhakund. So I wanted to read a few verses from Nectar of Instruction, Updeshamrita. So this is a small book, just 11 verses, which was given to us by Srila Rupa Goswami. So Rupa Goswami is of course considered to be the Acharya in terms of disseminating the knowledge of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He got extensive personal association and instructions from Mahaprabhu, and even though Mahaprabhu himself did not write much other than the 8 verses in the Shashtakam, based on his instructions, a lot of literature was written. And the 6 Goswamis, Rupa Sanatan and Jiva Goswami, so they wrote copious amount of literatures based on the instructions they received from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Nectar of Instruction or Updeshamrita is one of them, only 11 verses. And it's interesting that Rupa Goswami calls it Updeshamrita. So Rupa Goswami is the embodiment of Vaishnava humility. Very unlikely for him to write a book and say this is, so Updesh means the instructions. Very unlikely for him to write a book and says, these are my instructions for you. But the reason he called it Updeshamrita is because these were instructions from the personality of Godhead himself. These were instructions that he received from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Updeshamrita is very much anchored into the practical aspects of bhakti. That one once understands the sambandh, the relationship with Krishna, how does one act in that relationship, the abhiday. So it is more from the perspective of the practical execution of devotion service. So, so I'm reading the 9th verse, the translation. The holy place known as Mathura is spiritually superior to Vaikuntha, the transcendental world, because the Lord appeared there. Superior to Mathura, Puri is the transcendental forest of Vrindavan, because of Krishna's Rasalila pastimes. And superior to the forest of Vrindavan is Govardhan Hill, for it was raised by the divine hand of Sri Krishna and was the site of his various loving pastimes. And above all, the super excellent Sri Radhakund stands supreme, for it is overflooded with the ambrosial nectarian prema of the Lord of Gokul, Sri Krishna. Where then is the intelligent person who is unwilling to serve this divine Radhakund, which is situated at the foot of Govardhan Hill? So Rupa Goswami, in order to glorify Radhakund, compares it with other places that are also very, very glorious. So he starts with Vaikuntha. So Vaikuntha is the spiritual world, beyond the material world, which is presided by Lord Vishnu. And then he says higher than Vaikuntha is Mathurapuri. So these are all places in the spiritual world where devotees with different moods and different relationships with Krishna serve Krishna in the form that they relate to. So everybody is a form of Krishna over there. But the devotees have sometimes a mood of awe and reverence, and then they're more attracted to Lord Vishnu. So they serve Lord Vishnu in Vaikuntha. Then Rupa Goswami says that Mathurapuri is higher because Krishna actually appeared over there. Then higher than Mathura is Vrindavan because Krishna did his. So there are the 12 forests of Vrindavan that Krishna did his Rasalila pastimes as well as his childhood pastimes. Higher than Vrindavan is Govardhan because Krishna actually raised it with his own hand. And Krishna himself glorifies Govardhan in so many ways. And then he says that the highest is Radhakund because, and then Srila Prabhupada uses really flowery words to translate. He says that it is overflooded with the ambrosial nectarian prema of the Lord of Gokul Sri Krishna. So the ambrosial nectarian prema is only found in Srimati Radharani. And that is why Radhakund is special. So in the next verse, he talks a little bit more about the kind of people who would be attracted to Radhakund. So in text 10, he says, in the Shastra it is said that of all types of fruitive workers, he who is advanced in knowledge of the high values of life is favored by the Supreme Lord Hari. Out of many such people who are advanced in knowledge, Jnanis, one who is practically liberated by virtue of this knowledge may take to devotional service. He is superior to others. So karmis, Jnanis, and now he's talking about devotees. However, one who has actually attained prema, pure love of Krishna, is superior to him. So amongst the devotees he is now saying that one who has prema. So there are two kinds of bhakti, Mishra bhakti and Shuddha bhakti. So now he's talking about devotees who have Mishra bhakti and Shuddha bhakti. Now he is talking about within the devotees who have Shuddha bhakti. The gopis are exalted above all the advanced devotees because they are totally dependent upon Sri Krishna, the transcendental cowherd boy. Among the gopis, Srimati Radharani is most dear to Krishna. Her Kunda lake is as profoundly dear to Lord Krishna as this most beloved of the gopis. Who then will not reside at Radhakund and in a spiritual body surcharged with ecstatic devotional feelings, a prarak bhav, render loving service to the divine couple, Sri Radha Govinda, who perform the Ashtakalya Leela, their eternal eightfold daily pastimes. Indeed, those who execute devotional service on the banks of Radhakund are the most fortunate people in the universe. So so Rupa Goswami is glorifying why Radhakund is special, because Srimati Radharani is special. Why is Srimati Radharani special? So he established the gradation that there are karmis, those are who are just doing fruitive work. There are jnanis who are intellectually pursuing the knowledge of the scriptures. Then above them are the bhaktas who have devotion for Krishna. Among the bhaktas, he says, are the higher than the Mishra bhaktis are the Shuddha bhaktas. In the Shuddha bhaktas, the higher is the gopis, because they have full dependence on Krishna. And amongst the gopis, the highest is Srimati Radharani. So you notice in both the verses he ends with this question, that having known this, who will not take shelter of Radhakund? And the third and the last verse, in which he says, explain how does one take shelter of Radhakund. Of the many objects of favor, delight, and of all the lovable damsels of Vrajbhumi, Srimati Radharani is certainly the most treasured object of Krishna's love. And in every respect, her divine kund is described by great sages as similarly dear to him. So it's important that he uses the reference of sages, because sages are ones who are very steeped in either performing asceticism or reading the scriptures or performing different kinds of austerities, and they are the ones. So it's not just people who are emotional, one might say that this is just emotions or this is just sentiment. But he's saying great sages who have performed tapasya for thousands and millions of years, they too acknowledge the greatness of Radhakund. Undoubtedly, Radhakund is very rarely attained even by the great devotees. Therefore, it is even more difficult for ordinary devotees to attain. If one simply bathes once within those holy waters, one's pure love of Krishna is fully aroused. So as devotees, Rupa Goswami is saying that in a proper mood, if you are able to bathe in Radhakund, and for those of you who have visited Radhakund would have seen that there are so many renunciates who just live on the banks of Radhakund. That's all they do. That they'll circumambulate Radhakund, they'll worship Radhakund, they'll chant on the banks of Radhakund, and that's their complete meditation. So today is, as I said, the appearance day of Radhakund, and just wanted to discuss a little bit about the sequence of events that led to the appearance of Radhakund. So this happened when Krishna was a little over 11 years old, and he was living in Nandagram. So until this point, Kamsa has sent a lot of demons over to Vrindavan to harm Krishna, and they go through the same predictable outcome, that they would challenge Krishna, or they would try to kill Krishna, and they would all be defeated, and in most of the cases they would be killed. So Kamsa by this point is convinced that this boy living in Vrindavan is actually the 8th son of Devaki, because he didn't know. He was trying to figure it out, and by this time he is kind of almost sure that this boy is his future death. So he sends two of his trusted associates, Keshi and Arishtasur, to spy in Vrindavan. So both of them they have mystic powers, they have demons. So in some form or the other, they go to Vrindavan and they try to keep an eye on Krishna. So while they're keeping an eye on Krishna, they also notice the, the pastimes of Krishna with the gopis and especially with Srimati Radharani. So, and they're completely taken in by the beauty of gopis, by the dancing and singing, by Srimati Radharani. So then they go back and they report to Kamsa that we really don't know about that dark complexion boy. He seems pretty ordinary to me. He just does this kind of stuff that kids do. He herds cows. He plays with his kids. In fact, a lot of his friends bully him, and he seems to be a little bit loose character guy. He hangs around with a lot of other girls. But they said, but the girls in Vrindavan, they are really beautiful. And especially there is one Mataji, she's really, really good looking over there. So Kamsa, being Kamsa, he becomes very much taken in by, because that's the demoniac mentality that they want to enjoy. The demonic mentality is that I need to enjoy whether it's mine or not. So Kamsa is very much taken in and says, what are those girls doing in Vrindavan? They should actually come to my palace. So he sends one of his associates, a yaksha by the name of Shankasur. And Shankasur is the demon who has a money embedded in the forehead. So, if you remember the past name of Shankasur, Shankasur was one of the only demons who actually did not attack Krishna. So when Shankasur came and he had a stick in his hand, so he started almost threatening and herding the gopis away. So his plan of action was that he would herd the gopis away and eventually kidnap them and take them back to Mathura. But of course, it didn't work out because Krishna started chasing him, and after Krishna caught hold of him, he smashed his head and killed him, and then he also pulled out the Kastub jewel from his forehead. And Krishna wanted to give it to Srimati Radharani, but he realized that if he gave it to Radharani, other gopis would get upset. So instead he gave it to his elder brother, Balram. And Balram, knowing the mood of Krishna, then later on presented it to Srimati Radharani. So Kamsa now he's now more upset in the sense that he had everything that he plans in Vrindavan, it fails. Whether he tries to kill Krishna, it fails. Whether he tries to kidnap the gopis, it fails. So he calls for help from Aristasur again. So a little bit on the background of Aristasur. So this is given not in the Bhagavatam, but it is given in the Garg Samhita. So Aristasur in his previous life, he was a Brahmin by the name of Vartantu. And he was a disciple of Brahaspati. So Brahaspati, as we know, is a very exalted spiritual leader of the Devas. So the fact that he was a disciple of Brahaspati implies that he himself was a very exalted personality. So once he was sitting and taking instructions from Brahaspati, and because of his negligence, he spread out his legs with the soles of his feet pointing to his guru. So Brahaspati got upset and said that you don't know, you don't have the basic decorum of how to sit in front of your guru. So this is one of the, we should not sit with our feet pointing towards the deities. It's a seva aparad. Similarly, if there is an elderly Vaishnava, we should not point your feet to them. Or generally, you should not point your feet to others. So Brahaspati cursed him to become he said, you're sitting like a bull, may you become a bull. So it's a pretty heavy curse. I was reading and I was thinking that, most of us would not survive a long time during those times because very, very small amount of infractions, they attracted a lot of chastisement. But whenever the Brahmins and the spiritual master, when they chastise or curse, there's always a benediction hidden in it. So now he did not curse him to become a demon. He basically cursed him to become a bull. So he became a bull in West Bengal. And he was a nice, peaceful bull, but he fell in bad company. And because of the association, he actually became very, very demoniac. So the power of association is such that it can actually change one's intrinsic qualities. So we see the same in the case of Bhaumasur. Bhaumasur is the son of Mother Earth and Krishna himself. When Krishna appeared as Baladev, and then when he picked Bhumi Devi from the bottom of the causal ocean, and because of that contact, Bhaumasur was born. And you cannot get better lineage than that. You have Krishna as your father and your mother Earth as your mother. And Bhaumasur was actually very pious. But then over a period of time, he started associating with Banasur and with Mura demon. And then because of that, he became so demoniac that ultimately he had to be killed by Krishna himself. Well, Krishna didn't kill him, but Krishna caused him to be killed. So that's the power of association. Works both ways. You associate with devotees, and even the most fallen person can become an exalted devotee, and vice versa. So Aristasur, in this way, he became very, very demoniac. And at some point, he ran into Kamsa. So a lot of these associates of Kamsa were people that Kamsa had battles with, and Kamsa had defeated. And because Kamsa had defeated, they then pledged their allegiance to Kamsa. So Aristasur was also in that category. So he was defeated by Kamsa and he promised his allegiance to Kamsa. So Kamsa now ordered Aristasur to go into Vrindavan and kill Krishna. So Aristasur assumed his full form as a bull. And some of the commentators describe his form as so gigantic that the hump on his back would actually attract the clouds. Just like clouds attract around the mountain peaks, they would confuse the hump on his back to be mountain peaks. And his horns were actually cut through the sky. So he was so big that once he was traveling and Indra saw him, and Indra got upset that such a big creature is traveling with such impunity, so he threw his vajra at Aristasur, and because of the impact of vajra, Aristasur fell down, but then in a few moments later he got up again, just shook himself and walked away. So even the vajra of Indra that has defeated so many asuras was mostly ineffective against Aristasur. It is said that once he was going, Lord Shiva saw him coming, and Lord Shiva quickly hid, because Lord Shiva's career is also a bull, Nandi. So he quickly hid his Nandi in the cave in Mount Mandara, just so that Aristasur might not look at another, because bulls tend to fight with one another, just so that he would not engage in battle with Nandi. So when he entered Vrindavan, he was bellowing and snorting, and with his feet, with his hooves rather, he was digging up huge chunks of soil, and he was also passing urine and stool. And the commentators said that his stool smelled really, really bad. So, and I don't know how many of you have worked with cow dung. The cow dung actually doesn't smell bad. I remember as children, one day in a year during the Annaput, my mother used to send us to gather cow dung, because for some reason out of cow dung she used to make the Govardhan hill. So we used to take a bag and run after cows to catch the cow dung. And later on we found out that there was actually like a milk dairy, so we used to get it from there. But actually, fresh cow dung doesn't smell bad. We used to make that hell out of that. But the commentators say that this cow dung smelled really, really bad. And because of his shrieking and shouting, the cows in the area, they had miscarriage. The calves came out dead. So all the residents of Vrindavan, whenever there is any calamity, they run to Krishna. And then Krishna, of course, in a very chivalrous, he shows his chivalry at the time. In a very chivalrous mode, he says, "Don't worry, I'll take care of it." So then Krishna comes into the area where Arishtasur is, and he's standing very negligently. So one of his arms is on the shoulder of his friend Subal, and other people are terrified, but Krishna is almost looking at him in a very derisive way. And Arishtasur bellows really in a really loud manner. So Krishna responds by doing something that Madhumangal does, which is he puts one of his arms in his armpits and he makes this funny noise. So Arishtasur is like really, really upset now. And then he paws with his hooves on the ground and he rushes towards Krishna. So Krishna walks towards Arishtasur, and with his hand, he puts his hand on the forehead of Arishtasur, in the area between the two horns, and very casually pushes him back. So, but the force with which he's pushed back, Arishtasur goes back and falls. 20 paces he goes back. So then somehow he gets up again and he once again attacks Krishna. So Krishna then takes him by his horns and then he twists his head till Arishtasur has fallen to the ground. And then with his feet, Krishna, he stomps upon Arishtasur. He kicks him, literally he kicks him to death. So once Arishtasur has been kicked to death, there's a huge sigh of relief amongst everybody that one of the scariest demons to have come in Vrindavan is now dead. So the commentators talk a little bit about Arishtasur. Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he writes that each of the demon that comes into Vrindavan represents an anartha in our heart. So anartha is a contamination, something that is not good. By the way, this pastime of the Radhakund appearance, it is actually not in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but Srila Prabhupada gives it in the purport. So in the 10th chapter, 26th, in the 10th canto, 26th chapter, I believe, and the 6th verse. So there are 20 verses that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he writes about the appearance of Radhakund based on where the appearance has been given in the Puranas. So Bhakti Vinod Thakur explains that each of these demons that comes into Vrindavan represents an anartha in our self. So what does Arishtasur represent? So Arishtasur comes in the form of a bull. Now the bull is a representation of dharma. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the first canto, there's a pastime when Parishad Maharaj, he sees a cow and a bull. And then he sees the personification of Kali, who's dressed as a king, is trying to, with a club in hand, he's trying to break the legs of the bull. And there is a conversation between Parishad Maharaj and bull, and based on a conversation, Parishad Maharaj understands that he is none other than the personification of Dharma himself. And that's how the Vedas explain to us that so Mother Earth is a mother and Dharma is a father. So the cow is the mother and bull is the father. So the mother nurtures us and the father guides us. So we rely on Mother Earth to sustain ourselves, and we rely on Dharma, the principles of religion, for for guidance in terms of what to do and what not to do. So Arishtasur represents dharma that takes us away from Krishna. So in the seventh canto, fifth chapter, verse 12, Narad Muni explains that there are 5 kinds of dharma that take one away from one's path, and he says one should know them so that one can avoid them. So the first is called vidharma. So vidharma is doing activities that are irreligious. So not following the Varnashram dharma. So Varnashram dharma basically tells us what are the basic do's and don'ts to live as a civilized human being. If one does not follow that, then one is supposedly following the path of vidharma. So like the 4 regulative principles of no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling, we follow them to avoid the path of vidharma. If we do not follow the 4 regulative principles, we are actually under the influence of vidharma. The second is abhas dharma. So abhas dharma is when one follows certain symptoms of religion, but without really understanding what it is. So Srila Prabhupada actually, before he actually even founded ISKCON, somewhere in the 1950s, he had written a very amusing play called Murgi Mission, and which was basically on Abhas Dharma. And he talks about a person who wants to take sannyas, and then he says that I'd like to take sannyas. So the person in Murgi Mission says, yeah, fine, you can take sannyas. He says, but I have a wife and child, I'm still very attached to them. He says, no problem. In art, you can take sannyas with wife and child. And he says, but I really like eating mutton and fish. And I especially like eating chicken. And he said, no problem. In our Murgi Mission, you can do that. So, in a way, this is when people are teaching other people false aspects of religion. So, whereas sannyas is, of course, is a bona fide ashram, it's something that is an object of respect. But along with sannyas is just something that one takes externally. Along with it, there is a lot of internal change that needs to happen. And when one does not do that, then one is avas means that it looks like something, but it actually is not. The third is known as upadharma. So upadharma is sub-religion, wherein one takes a part of the religion and then follows it without understanding the religion in its entirety. So upadharma, example of upadharma is Buddhism. Like Buddhism focuses on ahimsa. So ahimsa is definitely a part of what the scriptures say, but ahimsa is simply a means to an end. It's not an end in itself. Similarly, a lot of caste Brahmins, they follow upadharma. So they will follow vegetarianism, they may do sandhya mandanam, or they may chant some mantras, but it is not related to spiritual progress. Prabhupada would say a lot of rituals, but very little understanding. So once a person came to Prabhupada and told Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, I've been a vegetarian all my life. And Prabhupada said, so what? Pigeons are also vegetarian. And all they do is have sex. So it's not that he's condemning being a vegetarian, but he's condemning the attitude that being a vegetarian is an end in itself. It's simply a means to an end. So one becomes a vegetarian so that one's consciousness is purified and one can worship the deities or one can chant the holy name or one can serve the Vaishnavas. So the quality of compassion becomes more and more prominent. So we did Vidharma, we did Abhash Dharma, we did Puka Dharma. The fourth is called Chal Dharma. So Chal Dharma is when people give some interpretation to the scriptures. So like in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that I am present in everyone. And then somebody reads it and then interprets saying that when Krishna says I am present in everyone, he also means that everyone is Krishna. So then they come up, so they extrapolate and come up with some explanations that are contrary to the intention. So when Krishna says I am present in everyone, he's talking about his position as the super soul. But you cannot really flip it around and say Krishna says he's present in everyone, which means that everyone is also there in Krishna, which means that everyone is Krishna, which means you're God. So this is the misinterpretation of the scriptures. And the fifth is called Paradharma. So Paradharma is when one acts in excess to one's adhikar. So one is taken to devotional life, and then one day the person comes home and says to his wife that the purpose in my life is to serve Krishna, so I'm going to Vrindavan, bye-bye. So they leave their family, they leave their responsibilities. So they are acting contrary to their adhikar at the time. Or the person might say that, Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Kirtaniya Sadahari. So from today onwards, I'll just sit in my room and I will chant Krishna's name 24/7. And externally it may look glorious that this person is taking to spirituality in such a strong way, but it's actually dangerous because one has to naturally reach that stage through one's sadhana. So it's a process of gradual purification, and it's also a process of descending mercy. That one cannot chant Krishna's name 24 hours a day unless Krishna's mercy is showering on that person. Now, the acharyas have said that, okay, even if you don't have full access to Krishna's mercy, you should try and chant some rounds. 1 round, 2 rounds, 16 rounds, something you have to do. And that is our endeavor. So, Paradharma is understanding where your adhikar is and acting according to your adhikar. Well, Paradharma is not doing that, not acting according to your adhikar. So as you see that these 5 dharmas are in successive stages of being, what's the right word? So there are successive stages of diminishing impact. So the worst is Vidharma. Vidharma, the person is going to hellish planets. The person is committing sinful activities, going to hellish planets. Abhash Dharma, a mode of goodness. They may practice the full understanding is lacking, but still there is some endeavor over there. So on as one goes through these 5 stages, there is diminution in the level of offenses. But Arishtasur in himself, he reflects or he represents this mood of practicing religion for the wrong reasons. And Krishna per se is actually extremely pained by this. Because think of it this way, that Krishna is waiting for all of us to come to him. A few fortunate souls develop this desire to come to Krishna, but then they are misled. So it's like most of the people are not even heading to Vrindavan. But then there are a few fortunate souls that for various reasons decide to go to Vrindavan, but then somebody is saying that go over here, actually this is a shortcut to Vrindavan. Somebody says actually you should turn around over there. So if you notice how Krishna kills Aristasur, that he actually stomps him to death. Now, if you look at how he kills other demons, sometimes like Keshi, he puts his hand in the mouth, and the other demon that had come,
Bakasur, he entered Bakasur.
Bakasur, he personally entered his body. So different ways he would kill. Of course, everything about Krishna is transcendental, so his feet are also transcendental. But we see that he stomps Aristasur to death. So Krishna becomes actually very, very inimical to people who are misguiding innocent souls. The people who are taken to the process of devotion, and then some Babaji comes and starts saying that do this, or some caste Brahmins come and they say, oh, when Srila Prabhupada went with his disciples to India, then many of the people over there said that how can they be Vaishnavas? They have eaten beef, they have eaten pork. We have never eaten meat in our life. So they were very proud of the fact that they were born in Brahmanical families, or they had Brahmanical culture. And Prabhupada, he used to be very heavy on them. He used to quote Chanakya Pandit as saying that you can't be born a Brahman. You have to become a Brahman. It's there is nothing like a seminal Brahman. Just like you can't be born a doctor, or you cannot be born an engineer, you cannot be born a Brahman. And anyway, he said in this age of Kali, everybody is a Shudra. Even the people who are trying to be Brahmins, they're Shudras. So they aren't really any Brahmins. So he was so Prabhupada was very fierce in protecting his disciples from these kind of devotions. When his disciples were living in Vrindavan, then some of them started associating with the Babajis over there. And of course, a lot of Babajis are bona fide, and there are a lot who are not also. But the disciples were young and impressionable, and the Babaji would tell them all kinds of things about Krishna and Radha, and about Siddhaswarup, that what is your tunnel. So Prabhupada gave a strict instruction to his disciples that when you see Babajis, you give them obeisances from a distance, don't associate with them. Also, when his disciples found out about the glories of Radhakund, then they started hanging around Radhakund a lot. So they would swim in Radhakund, they would do backstrokes, and they would do dive into Radhakund. And then Prabhupada said, no more swimming in Radhakund. Because unless you understand the glories of Radhakund, you cannot really enter into the mood of why Srimati Radharani manifested the Kund over there. So even now, a lot of devotees, they will not bathe in the Radhakund. They'll take water and put it on their head. Even though there are many sannyasis now, they say that it's okay to take. Prabhupada did not say that don't take a bath in Radhakund. He said don't be frivolous about entering Radhakund. You can take your chant your prayers, and in a humble mood enter into Radhakund. So we are at the point where Krishna had killed Aristasur, and he's obviously feeling a little happy about it, that he has killed such a large demon. So he approaches the gopis saying that, look, I protected all of you. And then the gopis say that you should actually keep your distance from us because you're a killer of the cows. So Krishna says, but this is not like a real cow. This is a demon that is disguised as a bull. And the gopi says, we don't know. And of course they're mostly teasing Krishna. So we don't know. So like a poor bull who came into Vrindavan, you killed the bull. So just a few minutes ago, they were all taking shelter of Krishna because they were so scared of Aristasur. So now that they're convinced that Aristasur is lying dead, so they have a little different bhav now. They're like, you weren't really scared of Aristasur. There's just a bull who came into Vrindavan, and you killed the poor bull. You're a cow killer. You shouldn't really associate with us. So Krishna is getting like really, really disturbed now because his association with gopis is his lifeblood, so to speak. So he says, what can I do to get back your association? So they said that you have to take bath in all the holy places in the universe before you can associate with us. So Krishna is like, I can't really travel to the whole universe taking bath. So let me do this. Let me invite all the holy places to come and reside here. So with the heel of his foot, Krishna, he hit the ground there. And because of the force of his striking the ground, a depression appeared. And Krishna earlier on he invited the holy places from the lower part of the universe to come and reside. And then eventually all the holy places from the personification of the holy places, they came and they prayed to Krishna and they asked permission to reside in the Kund. So this Kund is called Sham Kund. So after Sham Kund was filled with the water, Krishna personally took bath in the Kund and then he came out. And then Krishna became proud again. And then he started saying that I'm not really sure if I should associate with you gopis, because I've just taken bath in all the holy places and all the holy tirthas of the universe, and none of you have even left Vrindavan. When was the last time you took a bath in any of the holy places? So I think we should just keep our distance now, because you might contaminate me. So the gopis are now really upset at Krishna. And Radharani says that we'll actually build a Kund that is even better than your Kund. And Krishna says, what can be better than this Kund? All the holy places in the universe are residing in this Kund. And Radharani said, never mind. So next to Sham Kund, because there was a hoof print of Arishtasur. So Arishtasur was so big that his hoof was large enough to make a depression like a Kund. So the gopis, they broke their bangles. And with the broken bangles, they started excavating that Kund. And very quickly, they excavated the Kund there. So then Krishna and the Gopas, so they're all standing around having fun. So they are encouraging the gopis to dig quicker and faster. And they're making various comments that the Kund is not very regularly shaped and it's too shallow to be a Kund, and it's actually more like a pond. So they're all making all kind of disparaging remarks, and the gopis are all completely ignoring them. And because of the exertion, the gopis are sweating and their foreheads is beaded with perspiration. So finally, when they have dug it deep enough, then Krishna asks Radharani that all you have done is dug a hole over here. There's no water. This is not a Kund. So Radharani says, never mind. We'll get the water from Manasi Ganga. Now it's kind of interesting that Manasi Ganga was also found by Krishna. So one of the earlier pastimes was when another demon by the name of Vatsasur had come and attacked Krishna. So Vatsasur had taken the form of a calf. And at that time, Krishna was playing with the Gopas. And something similar had happened, that Krishna saw Vatsasur and then he caught hold of his hind legs and he whirled him around and around till he gave up his body. And the Gopa said the same thing, that you just killed a poor calf. And Krishna kept saying, no, he wasn't a calf, he was a demon. And the Gopa said, we can't play with the cow killers. So then Krishna at that time, he had summoned Ganga. In his mind, he had summoned Ganga to come and reside in that Kund, which became known as Manasi Ganga. So Manasi means from the mind. So from his mind, he had summoned Ganga, and then he had taken bath over there. So once Nand Baba, he was listening to pastimes from the Puranas. So one of the pastime he heard was that how Garud at one point had caught a huge snake. And so Garud is like an eagle, he feeds on snakes. So he had the snake on his beak and he was flying. And as he was flying, the tail of the snake, it touched the river Ganga. And because of that contact, the snake assumed a forearm form of a Vishnu Parishad. And Garud, understanding that the snake had assumed a spiritual form, he actually gave obeisances and put him on his back and took him to Vaikuntha. So when Nand Maharaj heard this, he said, tomorrow we are going to Ganga. So we should also get the same benediction. So Krishna comes to Nand Maharaj and says, why are you going to Ganga? We have Manasi Ganga. And Nand Baba says, no, we should go to Prayag, we should go to Ganga over there. So Krishna tells Nand Baba, you come with me, at least for a minute, to Manasi Ganga. And Nand Baba goes with Krishna, and there he sees that Ganga Devi actually emerging from Manasi Ganga. So Ganga Devi's career is a crocodile. So while sitting on a crocodile, she is actually emerging from Manasi Ganga. So the Nand Baba understands that Manasi Ganga is not different from Ganga. So all the Brajvasis take bath over there. So Radharani is saying that we'll make a chain of gopis all the way from Manasi Ganga to Radhakund. And with pots we'll carry the water from Manasi Ganga and fill it into Radhakund. So while they're doing this, the Krishna he's seeing that how the gopis are getting more and more tired, how they're exerting themselves. And Krishna is also, he knows that Srimati Radharani and gopis are upset at him. So he's very expert in terms of how to pacify in different situations. So he knows that the more he'll talk to Radharani directly, the more upset she will get. So it's like what we do, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that as jivas, we know that Krishna is upset at us. So that's why the more we try to approach Krishna directly, the more upset he gets, because he already is upset at us, that we have turned our back to him and we have left his association. So what do? We go through Srimati Radharani. So that's what Krishna did, was that he knew that Radharani was upset at him, so he turned to the personification of the Tirthas and said, you go and talk to Radharani and convince her to allow you to enter her kund. So the spokesperson for all the Tirthas, he goes with folded hands to Srimati Radharani and he glorifies Radharani, and then very humbly he asks begs for permission that if you so please, you could allow us to enter into your kunda. And Radharani, of course, she's very soft-hearted, so she says okay. And once she gives the permission, then the banks of the Shamkund, so Radhakund and Shamkund are adjacent to one another. The waters in the Shamkund, they breach the barrier and they flood into Radhakund. So once a year they actually take the entire water out of Radhakund. Once a year, once in 4 years. But once in 4 years. They take out all the water in Radhakund because so many people take a bath over there, and local people over there, they wash their clothes and all that. So there's a lot of algae that gets built over there. So they take out all the water, they clean up the whole pond, and then they clean the water and put it back also. There are also large turtles that live in Radhakund. Prabhupada would say that they are sages who are meditating on Srimati Radharani. So they take the turtles out and they put them back again after they clean the water. So they can see that there is the Shamkund is connected to Radhakund. So once the water of Shamkund filled Radhakund, then Krishna himself personally took bath in Radhakund, and then he gave this benediction that higher than my kund is Radhakund. And if anybody takes bath in you, because it's the personification of the love of Srimati Radharani, then to that person, pure devotional service is assured. And so in this way, Radhakund has become most glorious. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, around 550 years ago, when he went to Vrindavan, then at that time Radhakund was actually lost. So it was just a small, it was almost like a small pond, and there were few sages who were exalted sages who knew about it, but to the common public it was lost. So Mahaprabhu personally took bath in Radhakund, and he gave the 6 Goswamis instruction to basically make it bigger and larger so that more and more people could come. So this was just Mahaprabhu's mercy, that he wanted more people to take advantage of that. So today, while we are not in a position to take bath in Radhakund, but we can develop the desire. So one of the most powerful tools or abilities that devotee has is to strongly desire for something, and Krishna will eventually fulfill it. So today we can develop the desire in our hearts to somehow or the else get an opportunity to take darshan of Radhakund, to take bath in it, and to share the glories of Srimati Radhakund. So I'll stop here and see if there are any questions or comments.
So Radhakund water is both Mansi Ganga water and Shyamkund water, both is there in Radhakund?
Yes, I understand. Thank you.
So, in Mayapur there is something called Gupt Radhakund and Gupt Shyamkund. And in other places also they have that. So what's the significance of the other Radhakunds apart from the one that is in Vrindavan?
Good question. So,
Can you repeat the question, please?
so Peli is asking that in Mayapur there is a Gupt Radha and Shyamkund, and what's the significance? So, so just like in the spiritual world, there is a Golok Dham that is presided by Krishna. There is also a Dham that is presided by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is identical to Golok Dham. So everything that is there in Vrindavan Dham is present in Mayapur. There is Govardhan Hill, there is Radhakund, there is Shyamkund. So it is to be understood that they are non-different from one another. Now, also there are, like somebody was saying that I took a bath in New Vrindavan, Radhakund. So they are more just to encourage devotees. So they're not like really Radhakund, Shyamkund, but they set it up just to encourage devotees in a way that they develop an attraction to go. But the Radhakund, Shyamkund, Govardhan, etc. that is in Mayapur are considered to be non-different from the one that is there in Vrindavan. Anything else? Any other questions?
So that means when Kartik they did Parikrama in Vrindavan, so if people in Mayapur do they get the same?
Can you speak into the mic?
Yeah. So the question is, so the question is that whatever we do in Kartik and Vrindavan, can we do that in Mayapur also? And which is a lot of devotees go to Mayapur for that purpose. But all the benedictions that are there in Vrindavan are there in Mayapur, but they are more easily accessible because they are coming through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who does not take offense. So they are more easily accessible in Mayapur.
Aristashvara, he represents the cheating people who cheat in the name of religion.
False dharma.
So cheating spiritual master.
A spiritual master who cheats.
Yes.
Yeah. Anybody representing false dharma.
So both Potana also represents the same thing.
False spiritual master. Yeah.
I have a question here. The whole Radhakund story, the background has been about killing of the demon, the good, or protecting of the dharma. So does it translate that as a practicing devotee? So if you are a devotee, you're following the path of dharma, because each sector, at least in India, like Sri Vaishnava says, okay, it is because of us that the dharma is alive, and we are the ones that will protect it. And if you go further south down, it's the smartas who come and say it's because of us. So it's like dharma, is it representative of what? Is it representative of Krishna or representative of the people who follow? And how is it?
So the question I'm trying to understand is dharma a representative of Krishna?
Or the people who are just devotees. Like if you follow the path of devotion, then means that you follow the path of dharma.
Yeah, yeah. If you're following the, if you're following the, if you're following it in the proper mode, so I think your question is, if I may, that there are different people who are doing different things. Which one is actually dharma, right? Sri Vaishnavas may be doing something differently, and Smarta Brahmins may be doing something differently. Which one is actually dharma? And the answer is that as long as they're bona fide, they're all dharma. So they're all coming from Krishna as long as they're bona fide. Why does Krishna have so many paths? Because we have so many propensities. Not all of us can take to pure devotional service. There are some people who are very much attracted to fruitive activities. For them there is karma kanda. Even amongst bhakti, there are some people who are very much attached to Krishna in the mood of Aishwarya. They cannot comprehend Krishna being a small boy running away in fear from his mother. The only form that they can comprehend Krishna is that he is taking care of the whole universe, that he is the most powerful, he is the most opulent. So that Aishwarya Bhav, how does Krishna reciprocate? By presenting himself as Lord Vishnu in Vaikuntha. So they're all bona fide as long as they are part of the Vedas and they're followed with sincerity. When the point when they don't become bona fide is when one starts to speculate. So let's assume that somebody is following Karma Kand. Karma Kand means you do your activities as prescribed in the scriptures and you can enjoy. Right? Very simple definition for Karma Kand. But then somebody takes the definition and twists it around and says that anything that you do to take care of your family is fine. Because the scriptures say you have to take care of your family. So they take part of the instruction, but they don't take the other part of the instruction. So they don't say that only do activities that are prescribed in the scripture. So that people will say that, as long as you're taking care of your family, sinful activities are fine. Why? Because the scriptures say that you have to take care of your family. So that's when dharma becomes vidharma, or one of the other fives. Or like I was given that example that Krishna has spoken the Bhagavad Gita, and the instructions in the Bhagavad Gita are, at least from a bhakti perspective, they are straightforward. But then somebody takes that instruction and says, actually what Krishna means in this is that he is God and you are God also. So at least on surface you may be saying that I am a follower of Bhagavad Gita. But you're not following it because either you have misinterpreted yourself or you're following people who have misinterpreted fully. Do you understand the difference? That the dharma itself cannot get contaminated because it is coming from Krishna. And dharma is not monolithic. So nobody can say that mine is the only path because Krishna does not say that himself. That's why he has given karma and jnana and astang and bhakti. He has given so many paths. And even within bhakti he has given so many rasas. Because we have infinite propensities in ourselves. So if somebody says that mine is the only path, then you can understand the person has a limited understanding. What is the right way to say that mine is the only path for me? Based on my propensity, based on my understanding, this is what the path is. But it's a bona fide path. The Sri Vaishnavas follow a bona fide path. Karma Kand is completely bona fide. When it stops becoming bona fide is when we start misinterpreting it. Okay? First speculation.
Prabhuji, when you started the lecture, you quoted a verse where you mentioned that Radhakund is super excellent. It's even higher than Vaikuntha. It's way higher than Vaikuntha. So that means Radhakund must be a site of pilgrimage, like the site of pilgrimage, right? So why do we have like some places in India that are considered as dhams and which are more famous, like Haridwar, Rishikesh, or even Tirupati, and why not Radhakund has that much of security and that much of significance?
It's a good question. So even when you go in Vrindavan, if you see what do most of the people who come to Vrindavan do, 99% of the people what do they do in Vrindavan? They will go to Banke Bihari temple. They will give, they will take darshan over there. They will give some charity. They will eat the peras from there, and they will go back. Right? Why? There are so many other temples. There are so many other places. Why do 99% of the people go to Banke Bihari? Because the deity in Banke Bihari, he gave the special benediction that I will fulfill the material desires of my devotees. So because most of the people are materialistic, that's where they will go. Balaji temple, what did Lord Balaji say? Come unto me and I shall bless you. Right? He's like, in fact he has this mudra, right? You give me something, and take benediction. Because he's trying to get money for his dowry, or he's trying to pay off Kuber for the money that he got for his dowry. And he does, Well, people give so much gold over there, and the reason they do is because there is a strong established empirical understanding that Lord Venkatesh, he reciprocates. So as people are, I think it goes back to the question that Bindu was asking, that as people are, they will choose that path. Very few people are interested in Shuddha Bhakti. Because there is what happens when you execute pure devotional service? What is the perfection of pure devotional service? Prem is there, but what happens when you reach the state of pure devotional service? You get an opportunity to serve somebody who is serving somebody who is serving somebody who is serving Srimati Radharani, who is serving Krishna. Das anudas. So you go to a person over there and say, I have something for you, man. You do all this, and you end up being a servant. And you say, check back with me later, I'm busy right now. Because it does not strike a lot of resonance with what the conditioning is. But Radhakund is, even though everybody is not converging to Radhakund, but like I said, there are people who have dedicated their whole lives to Radhakund. They simply live on the bank of Radhakund, they do Radhakund Parikrama, they take bath in Radhakund, and the very, very exalted sages, they make their lives. Prabhupada would say that in a jewelry shop, you'll find few people. But in an iron market, you'll find big crowds. With a little bit of money, they can buy tons and tons of iron. But very few people can buy jewelry. Right?
I missed the first part of the lecture, but isn't dust that's in Vrindavan equally precious as the water in Radhakund, because Krishna is associated with both?
Yeah. So I think then this comes to the question of degrees of perfection. So it's like best, bester, bestest. So they're all best. The Braj Raj is very good. Taking a bath in river Yamuna is great because Krishna took bath over there with the gopis. Circumambulating Govardhan is very nice because Krishna picked up Govardhan. But Krishna personally said that Radhakund is the bestest. So who are we to argue with Krishna? He says Radhakund is the bestest, so we follow his lead.
Is Radhakund that come during Govardhan Parikrama?
Yes. It is. Some people will start with Parikrama at Radhakund. Some people, when they start it, they end it. It's actually one of the three largest kundas. The largest